Yeah. Hi, everyone. Have we started, Bob?
Yeah, I believe so.
So, anyways, hi, everyone. It's Ginger Battle with Tea with Ginger. And welcome, team. This is a special night. It's our first night with Dr. Koontz. So, I want to introduce him. I'm very happy that he's here. So,
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
I get to talk about my favorite subject to make us all healthier and stronger
Yes.
and better mental clarity so that we can be all that we can be.
There you go. So the subject we're going to talk about tonight is going to be about sugar. So Dr. Koontz is going to do some talking to us about that. My husband's still trying to figure out if we have sound. This is our first time going live doing this on the team page. And I'm not sure if we're live yet. So
Why don't you ask someone to send a question?
Yeah.
I can hear you just fine.
Yeah. Can anybody in the team page see us?
Live. And Jessica McGowan joined.
So can you just comment if you can hear us so I can make sure the mic's working? My husband's actually looking at the back side of the camera and I can't see it. So does anybody hear us? I hope so.
I can hear you.
Oh, good. Perfect. All right. So let's go. So Dr. Koontz is going to talk to us about sugar tonight, and then we're going to have an open forum where he's going to talk to us about any questions that you guys have. I'll probably sneak to the other side of the camera so that I can read some stuff when we get to that point.
Okay.
But I'll let him start with sugar, and I'll try to see if I can get this up on my phone where I can look at my phone and just find the answer. So go ahead, Dr. Koontz.
We're going to talk about myself credentially.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, yeah. I'm new at
Credentially,
this.
just to let you know, I like to say naturopathic MDs are popular more out west. There's about 16 states in the District of Columbia. I think there might be almost 20 now. I know Kentucky got theirs rebooted. I doubt that Indiana will for a while. That's where we are right here north of Indianapolis in Carmel. Because Eli Lilly has quite a strong influence politically as well as in this state, but throughout. So the one thing that naturopathic doctors is botanically minded, and our emphasis is to seek and find natural remedies, usually from the plant kingdom. And just to make a point, as we know that the brain needs sugar for fuel, and glucose can come from many sources. Holistically, when it comes from plants, beets, for example, but carrots have sugar in them, and everything we eat, and this is what Dr. Atkins was famous for making the ketogenic diet popular for, which means ketones is not a sugar, but it is a form of an alcohol, natural alcohol, and when we burn ketones in our body, there can be a happy hormone reaction of sort of like you actually drank fermented alcohol, something from the booze category.
Interesting.
So it's called gluconeogenesis, which is three phrases of neo as infant, and the genesis and the creation of glucose. And the brain must function. When you become exhausted, or if you've been thinking too much, like after an examination or preparing for a test, you need a little fuel, and too many people reach for the quick fix drinks.
Right.
So there's a call already.
I know, right? Let me turn on my
industry.
phone. Sorry, guys.
No. The sugar industry is going to go like, don't let this guy talk too much, because I looked up on Wikipedia the history of white sugar, the hidden truth, and it does go back over 2,000 years. Every bite, something made with white sugar should make you reflect in the countless Afghanistas who were stolen, enslaved, and worked to death in the sweetness of this deadly addictive drug. Is sugar a drug? Well, if it's refined, it is. Actually, it habituates habitual use. That's what it. There is a book that a New York Times author wrote. His name, all you got to do is Google 3 words that is in the title of his book. Fat, sugar, salt, and it might be salt, sugar, fat. But those 3 words, he points out that every product that's marketed and put on the shelf in America is first tested, for marketability, for its addictive quality, and they do this scientifically through an expensive process of a PET scan. And a PET scan is like an MRI of the brain, and there's a sweet tooth center, amygdala, that is signaled and lights up like it's a happy sugar trigger. Oh yeah, that tastes great. I always think of one of the movie stars that was the funny comedian that was started out on Saturday Night Live. It's such a goofball right now, but
It'll come to you.
yeah, and it just showed him pretending. Of course, it was pretending to snort cocaine. But then he made so many silly falls that he got hooked actually on narcotics, and boy, that wore him down quite a bit. I can see his face, and boy, it's sad to see him how fast he's aged, and it doesn't help a body whatsoever. It breaks down. So if you were to take, and we're talking sugar now, pure refined sugar, and we'll talk about the good sugar that's not refined. Just wet your finger, put it in a sugar bowl if it's refined sugar. Would you dare, I wouldn't tell you to do this unless you want to prove a point, put it in your eye like you wear contact, and within seconds, 10 or less, your eye will be red right there, and that irritation is an inflammatory response. That's exactly what happens when you eat refined sugar. What's amazing is our body has such a tolerance for it. So why don't we get off the sugar drum right now and just talk about the healthier things that maintains the body. By the way, sugar is a thief. We'll be bouncing back and forth because it dehydrates you terribly. A good way to look at it is like when I was young, there was no limits. Nobody was afraid of sugar. There wasn't a lot to be afraid of. It hadn't really been concentrated in such. Matter of fact, little bottles of soda pop, like 6.5 ounces, that's all that was sold. And it doesn't need to be talked about. The original soda, many people know, was created by a pharmacist in Mobile, Alabama, and it actually had cocaine in it, and that's one of the reasons it got to be so popular. And when it realized that everybody was sitting around getting stoned out of their gourd, that they made him take it out, but it still kept the name Coke. So that's
Interesting.
that's the interesting part. For every teaspoon of, for every ounce of soda drink, there's a teaspoon of sugar. It's quite concentrated.
Jana's asking, is there a good substitute?
Well, stevia. Hello, Steve.
Yeah.
And molasses is interesting. That molasses is where sugar cane is a byproduct, and after it's squeezed, and if you look up Wikipedia and see the history of how it goes back 2,000 years, and then the Asians were doing it, but it wasn't like super refined until it came to the United States, and beets were found to be a very good source of sugar. So actually satisfying your sweet tooth with beets are a fantastic vegetable source. You just boil them. Now, I wouldn't recommend the pickled beets that some people say, oh, I can't stand beets. Well, have you ever had them boiled? You know, they're just delicious. Helps your liver tremendously.
We actually have a tea that has beets in it too. It's called Drop Your Sweet Beet. We just came out with it in the fall, so that's a really exciting one too.
Does it taste sweet?
Yes, it does. It's
Okay.
actually really good, and I say it's one of our green teas
And it'd be healthy?
that doesn't need sugar added to it. Yeah, it's healthy. We've also came out with some vegetable teas. I told Dr. Koontz I'm going to send him home with our nutritional list, or not nutritional list, our ingredients list for our teas. So next time when he comes over, he can have a little bit better idea of what our teas have in them, and maybe guide us a little bit on that. Since tonight we kind of threw together and came together with you, and we're just going to focus on sugar and then do a little bit of open air questions. So if you guys have questions, go ahead and ask us. Now, Dr. Koontz was explaining to me how he learned about molasses and
That's
the
a beautiful
different.
story.
Yeah, it's a great story. And also, there's a special place that you can get molasses. It's actually the best molasses. And if you want to just share that story that you shared with me Saturday, that would be great.
Yes. So I'm in the photography department at Asbury Theological Seminary in Wilmore, Kentucky, outside of Lexington, and the photography lab was downstairs in the basement of the girls' dorm, and at the end of the hall, there were offices there for various professors, and was a retired medical PhD, Dr. Martha Jones, the first PhD to graduate from, and I just have to look it up, Yale or Harvard, and I think it was Yale. And she worked with a couple of dentists during World War II, the Price Pottinger group. Now, if any of you hang out with naturopathic doctors, MDs, and many, many chiropractors, especially out west. Matter of fact, my brother bought a practice, not to digress too much, when he moved to Phoenix in 1969, 70, Dr. Gagne. And it was both. You could graduate in those days from a chiropractic school with an ND, naturopathic degree. There wasn't any MD connected with it because everybody was like natural anyway. And it was sort of like the creation of medical pharmacology with drug invention was the antibiotic penicillin. And you know, that's from mold on a bread. And once the pharmaceutical reps were instructed to tell everyone that, well, that vitamin C, ascorbic acid, that is so old school. You need this new drug. This is penicillin. It really, and boy, when you listen to the old YouTubes, no one would prescribe penicillin in those days at the high dose that it's given today. And as many people know, we've created a whole batch of superbugs that is really, well, that's where MRSA, which is a definition of a bacteria that has created so that you can't kill it. And hand soaps that are antibacterial, being told not to use those.
Yeah.
And to keep, and actually people that live, not that you're not going, you know, you can't live in dirt, of course not, but you don't be so germ phobic. There's kids that are raised out on the farm and they're around animals, they have a healthier immune system. So Martha Jones.
Yep.
Martha Jones invited me down for breakfast because I was an early bird to start in the lab, you know, 7-ish anyway. And so she said, I'll make you some eggs. Come on down. I said, sure, that sounds great. And she put carrot pills, spinach, maybe red beet pills, desiccated liver. Now, I had never heard of these things, desiccated liver. Actually, I was raised eating liver. I was okay with it. I'd never seen it in a pill form. What that means is dehydrated. Well, then she got out her album after we ate our eggs and took the pills. They were fine, you know. The carrots were sweet. Liver didn't have a bad taste. You could chew them or swallow them. Pictures of her missionary work that she did in the Philippines. And what she said was with the natives there were discarding their molasses for the refining of sugar. That was their industry, was to refine the sugar and ship it to the States or anywhere else. And she said, don't do that. It's wonderful. It's got all the minerals. You're throwing away the best part. And someone had left a sick child near death at her door. This was an infant that just was not thriving. And so its lips were swollen and purged. All she could do, and she nursed it back to health, was to take a dropper of liquefied molasses, glucose, of course, complex glucose, and would drip it into the child's mouth through the lips. And that re-energized the child. And so she actually started bottling this molasses, and she, for whatever she called it, GI, probably because she worked around a lot of GIs in World War II. And they were studying what happened with the teeth, dental caries. So it...
and you were explaining about the iron and stuff that's in
oh my
molasses.
gosh. It's such a nice, gentle, soft iron that it nourishes the bloodstream. And the beautiful thing about plants, such as tea, is that all tea is green before they roast it and make it a darker version of some concentration. Iron and chlorophyll love one another. They like our magnets, and they get, so if you don't have enough iron in your diet, or the wrong kind of iron, what is that? You take a piece of paper, put a magnet underneath it, and you put your cereal on top, and if you drag the magnet, you can see some of the flakes move, which means, whoa, you're swallowing metal. You know, or people say, well, I cook with cast iron pots. Well, it's to a degree you can organify certain metals. Iodine's a great one to to cause the organification of the minerals. So anyway, Martha got me hooked on, Dr. Jones got me hooked on this great thing, molasses, and I raised my 4 children with putting that on their oatmeal, their cereal. But you put just a teaspoon of that in hot water or add it to your tea. Start off with a 1/4 teaspoon. I wouldn't use the cooking kind, Brewer Rabbit, or a grandma's brand, unless you were making cookies, if that was your purpose. But Barbados Island is a very classic, pure, honest manufacturing of a good quality molasses. And they have 2 kinds. They have the 3rd refinement, just makes it unsulfured, completely unsulfured, has a quality good taste, like brown sugar. So if we could just gravitate back to sugar substitutes besides stevia, there's one called xylitol, which gets a pretty good rap. Some people may have, depending on how you introduce it, a GI or a hyperbowel mobility, which is called diarrhea. Oh, by the way, Linus Pauling told my brother once, who's also a naturopath in Phoenix, it's not diarrhea, Dan, when you take enough vitamin C, it's just a loose bowel. And you just back up for bowel tolerance, which magnesium is awesome in the molasses, because when very few people are getting adequate amounts of magnesium, and how you know that you reach the point of good, like I love CalMagzyme, I like magnesium enzyme, but the powdered buffered is that you start to have a loose stool. It's not diarrhea, it's just loose stool, and then you back up 1 or 2 pills or a half teaspoon if you're doing the powdered kind.
So the other thing is one of the quick questions I asked you once you mentioned the molasses, and it kind of hit me that we could use that in tea as an alternative to things like Splenda and things like that for diabetic. One of the first questions I asked you is that safe for people who have diabetes to have the molasses?
Yes, as a matter of fact, Dr. Ray Evers, and you could Google him, was one of the first MDs to do chelation therapy, which is another talk and another subject. And you can get oral chelation, but what he did was start with IVs, and it will pull the plaque out of the arteries. Well, it was because people were making illegal alcohol in radiators that had lead. Okay. So they had to do something to get the neuropathies and the circulation problems gone. But right away that brings me to a patient. His name was Moses. And I looked at his legs. It was so inflamed. I mean, you looked like if you could touch a match head to his leg, it would light it up. And because he had poor teeth, his wife told me he loved mashed potatoes. And I said, oh my gosh, if you look at the glycemic index on the phone, just Google that, you'll see Harvard and Sydney, Australia, and that mashed potatoes are 15 times more absorbable to our body's tissues because you just crush the starch cells. And glycemically, boom, it's just instant rush of sugar. So they're easy to crave that. And someone wrote a book, Potatoes, Not Prozac, because you get a comfort food going, and that's one of the problems. If you're too comfortable with some of the foods you're eating, you better look at the glycemic index. Okay. So nurses pricked their fingers, bless her, in 1995, established the index every time they'd eat something, and they'd measure their glucose, and it would be charted and double-checked so that the index would be relative. So what we want is complex carbohydrates to tell you that blackstrap molasses is totally safe. Dr. Ray Evers would prescribe it to diabetics to stabilize the sugar because it is a gentle lift, carries and sustains you, and then it drops. And that's where we get into the circadian clock. The earth is a clock. It's called circadian, a circle of clock of the body. And you could say our digestion, our stomach's on a clock, where we usually eat it at 7 in the morning. 6, 7 is a good time to start. Always have breakfast. You're healthier for it. And then the noon hour, and then the evening. And always have your midnight snack before 8 o'clock. Is that a good plan?
That's a plan. There you go. Well, there's our plan. So
hard to do.
I'm asking, does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask the doctor tonight? I know we've done a little bit of talking about sugar, and I'm sure you can go on, but I just wanted to see if I can field any questions from anybody, if anybody has any.
Well, I would like to recommend that everybody find themselves a holistic physician. If their MD isn't, you'll find more MDs going that way, but many of them just are so programmed and taught to think about drugs first, why not think about plants first or dietary changes? And you're seeing that happen thanks to newsletters, not only Prevention Magazine, but Dr. Royal Lee, that was a dentist that saved his mother's life with vegetable compounds in a multiple vitamin. And the difference between organic is that it spins the right direction molecularly, where synthetics go the wrong opposite direction.
So what does that mean?
The molecular spin, cis-and-tran, C-I-S-T-R-A-N. So it's a left spin to a right spin. So which way the Earth goes, which is clock. Matter of fact, somebody switched. They got two left feet. Just have them turn to the right, like a clock, one or two times, and they'll be more coordinated.
Huh, that's interesting.
More balanced. So that's a phenomenal way. And what I have found that in the school that I went to, I cut my teeth, if you will, because my brother motivated me from switch to dentistry to chiropractic, is that the early chiropractors, I'm talking from the, I'm going to say pre-60s, were so holistically taught and grounded by many medical doctors left the field of medicine because of disappointments in their patients and went into the most leading natural field then was chiropractic, which CHI is Greek for chi, chipracticos is the Greek word pronunciation. And so they were, National College in Chicago was started by an MD. The president of the college that I went to at Logan was previously a pharmacist. As a matter of fact, I had two pharmacists in my class, and they just knew that there was a better way. So my education, very integrated, very diffused, and incorporating the energies of the body. Too many people just qualify, you might say, the thought of a chiropractic type doctor as taking the hard bone off the soft nerve. Very good thought, but it's an energy field as well. We're all energies. If you could just look, some people can read auras. I've put my hand in a black photographic bag, which we did as a class in school, and then, I don't know, 30, 40 seconds, develop that piece of film, and you'll see spicules edging out of your hand. So if you get in a real peaceful, mindful mood, and in the morning twilight hours, and just look at your hand through squinted lights, you might see the aura coming off the hands are so powerful.
Interesting.
But insurance has warped and twisted practitioners in all fields to such a specialty that they have said, if you want to get paid, oh, doctor, then you've got to do it by diagnostic codes, and if you deviate, then we're not going to pay you. So unfortunately, that guides. We need more doctors to become concierge, which is my field, where I haven't taken insurance for over 12, 14 years, and feel a lot better for it.
Gotcha.
People like the honesty of it. Your prices are lower too.
Yeah. All right. Well, I've asked if there's any questions, and I don't know if they're getting it through or not, but I don't see any that they're asking yet. So
I'm talking too much.
No, I don't think so. I'm not sure if this feed is working okay or not. So if you guys can at least comment that it is. I see that there's 2 of you on right now, and there's been people come on and off. So if you can let us know if this is working or not, and maybe next time we'll do a Zoom type thing where we can type and be at a computer.
Yeah, and remind me to say this again. It's not the flu season, it's the sugar season. We have 6 months starting at harvest time, where people start baking at Halloween forward.
Yes.
Thanksgiving, more cooking, then the holidays, sugar, then got Valentine's Day. And by the way, everything's made with the terrible corn sugar today. And then you get into the, well, finally after Easter, and the chocolate Easter bunny, and this milk chocolate's no good, go dark. Then we have 6 months of health. And then eventually when we say, oh, time to go on a diet, we got to get in our clothing for the summertime, if you're in the Midwest, that's where the sunshine states are more healthier.
Perfect.
So it's not the immune system. You do not need flu shots if you eat correctly. And that means that too, with the natural foods, you're going to have proper metabolic digestion and elimination. Because the shoulders right here at the traps, called the triple energizers, and the Chinese figured it out, is 3 meridians that intersect there: respiration, digestion, elimination. So you got your lungs, your stomach, and your bowel. Everything is in a harmonious pattern. Wow. That's where we So we just love natural energies.
Well, Jessica says she can hear us. So, Jessica, if you have a question or if anybody else has a question, if you could just type it in the box so that I can see it, we'll ask Dr. Koontz.
Okay, and you know what? I hate to take a pee break, but I drank so much tea
Okay.
before I came over. Can you
go ahead.
continue with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
questions?
So,
and
okay,
tell them
guys.
what I've taught you.
Yeah.
Tell me what door I'm headed for.
So, you're going to the right and around the corner.
I should have gone before we started.
You're okay, Dr. Koontz. So anyways, love Dr. Koontz. Obviously, he's full of knowledge and he gets a little sidetracked. I think the more that we talk and the more we rein it in, the more we can be focused on our questions and what we want to ask him and what he can tell us. Right now, I think he's just trying to unload a ton of information on us. So it may seem a little overwhelming and maybe not so much all tea related on all of our tea stuff, but I can guarantee you he's a wealth of knowledge. And as I said, I'm going to send him home with the ingredient list and see where we can go from there as far as him telling us what different ingredients in our teas can do. And he should be back in a minute. And if nobody has any questions that pop up on the screen, I am just going to have him close it out and we'll come back another day and we will continue on from there. So I'm just waiting for him to come back, and I'm trying to reload our page to see if I can see this. And my husband's in the kitchen getting something to eat, of course.
I have to say first,
Oh, he's back.
I'm glad I had that little intermission because a memory just popped back into my mind when I was visiting an acupuncturist a dozen years ago, Chinese lady, so I got an enlarged heart after my mother died in '03. So I was seeking alternative methods to help bring my meridians back in line to stop or to control the AFib, the irregular heartbeats. And as I went to the bathroom, she asked me if I'd gone, and she said, "Well, you better go." She goes into the bathroom and goes, she wanted to see, but she didn't. She didn't ask me to put my urine in a dish to smell to see if I had sugar in my urine.
Oh, wow.
Because if they know Chinese people are so smart. They're doctor healers. They have like 6 years of intense study just to learn acupuncture, and then when they come here, they'll learn the westernized medicine. So you may notice when you drink teas, there'll be an odor, or coffee certainly can give a caffeine odor. Asparagus is notorious for giving urine an odor, and so you can actually look at your urine and see if there's any cast or white blood cells. If it's cloudy, you probably got bladder infection. There's so many great plants other than cranberry that will help heal the bladder. But look first always to your glycemic overloads.
Okay.
That's where disease starts. You're crippling the immune system for 2 to 6 hours every time you take refined sugar in your body.
Now, Jessica said, I liked the info on sugar. My little brother and grandma are both diabetic, so always looking for things to help them. So, there we go.
And that's where every diabetic will crave sugar so much that their brain is crying for it. Their muscles are crying for it. How do you make Ringer solution? Naturally, you use a natural sugar and honey, molasses. Sugar stevia doesn't count because you want the real glucose with the sea salt, and you've just made Ringer solution. You've got
What's
the electric
Ringer solution? I've never
That's
heard
what
of
they
that.
put. Well, Dr. Ringer coined the term during World War II, I believe, because that's what is the saline solution that you put in whenever you're picked up by medics and you've had an accident, or as soon as you go to the hospital, they start an IV, stat, right? It's electrolytes because everyone's dehydrated.
Okay.
That's, just universally. Why?
Given.
Because sugar is a thief. It robs you of water. Watch it disappear in your iced tea. It disappears if it's refined. And then you are, so when you drink it, you're being like robbed. And table salt's not bad, but sea salt's wonderful. Cancel, reverse, flip. Sea salt is not bad. Matter of fact, sea salt as a remedy, as a cure, look it up for remedies. Just put a half teaspoon in a glass of water and enjoy that. That'll strengthen your adrenal glands. And the adrenals also make an aldosterone. Aldosterone is the great salt saver. We got to have salt. And when you get deficient, you never know what kids are doing today when they get in their cars. They just lean back like this and they won't sit up, and they're driving like they're in a recliner. Well, that's because the blood-brain barrier right up in here is receiving so much sugar, they don't have enough battery acid, which is sea salt. They don't have enough electrolytes to operate like a battery. See, the Earth is a big battery, North and South Pole, with an iron core in the middle, getting back to iron. We've got to have that molten iron. And it's just a fabulous thing to treat the body energetically. I'd like to be called an energy doctor.
Okay.
Matter of fact, my wife got up, my kids voted me down when I had opened my last chiropractic office about 5 years before my mother died in '03. The sign I wanted to put was CHI.Chipract. Chipract. I said, everyone's going to think you're a Chinese restaurant.
That's funny.
And I go like, all
So you
right.
got voted down on that
all right.
one.
So cheerio. But I love chiropractic work. It's my kindergarten work. I have then expanded as a Renaissance type doctor, always been out of the box. I was the first Florida chiropractor, I'm sure others had done it in California perhaps, to hire a medical doctor to do pain control therapy with DMSO, which is dimethyl sulfoxide, great for arthritis, smells to high heaven from a concentrated point of view, like I don't know, had a ton of garlic or something, and then chelation therapy to get the plaque out of the arteries. And so it just made people move. You could have a stiff spine and they'd start moving. Today I use a product called Super Phosphozyme. It's a liquid phosphozyme that will help eradicate stiffness. We bring in alkalized water, about 7.0, 7.5, and get people on alkaline food and fermented foods. And pretty soon you'll lose your sweet tooth. How do you get people with diabetes? Well, you gradually convert them in 3 days. That's what it's going to take. You know, like blood brother, sister. You got to say, I need 3 days. You can do it, 5 at the longest, and you're going to substitute your sweet refinedness, find refined foods that are poisonous, and put in the natural beets and carrots and molasses in your tea, even if you need it every other hour. That would stabilize the blood sugar. And you can take a diabetic on insulin or metformin and gravitate them back and heal their body. Doctors will tell you, if they're into cancer, if I had a choice that said, God would say, which disease do you want, Mr. or Sister? You're going to live on planet Earth. It's very dangerous down there. Never take diabetes as the choice. Cancer can be remedied because cancer is a remedial, can be addressed. But insulin is a destructive tissue. It'll destroy your eyesight. It'll prematurely age you. Refined sugars. But the right kind of sugar, we got to have it, and there's a right way to keep your body healthy with it.
Awesome. All right. Well, I don't see any more questions on the screen tonight. I know. On the screen tonight. And people have been jumping in and off. So I think what I'll do next time is over the week we'll get some questions from the team and see what they want to ask. And maybe we'll switch. I don't know if this Facebook Live worked well, or maybe if we should try Zoom where we can type back and forth and Doctor can have his computer, I'll have mine, and we can kind of Zoom. I need to educate myself on how to do that exactly well. But if this wasn't a good forum to do this in, let's definitely figure this out, because I think Dr. Koontz is a wealth of knowledge, and since we have this luxury, we should definitely tap into it. I will be sharing some of this on Facebook. We'll end up putting a link for that so you can share it with your friends and your customers, and we hope to make it more geared towards things that you guys have questions on and want to know what's going on. So,
and if they'll contact me through you,
right.
I have a simple health survey questionnaire that the title of my book will be, it's right up here, most of it's got many, Escape the Planet Clueless, Bring Back Wisdom and Health. And so the health survey is my escape plan, and with the escape plan you can escape the disease and bring back your health, and you'll be permanently smart enough to help everyone else do the same thing.
So that's lots of fun. I'm just going to check this one more time, make sure there's no more questions, and I don't think so.
Delay?
yeah, it's a little bit delayed.
Yeah.
So I don't see any more questions. So I think on that note, unless there's something else you want to share real quick, Dr. Koontz?
I
Maybe we'll
just
wrap it up.
want everyone to love themselves, honor and respect, and that's why you're into, I mean, if you're in the tea business, you're in it for healthy reasons.
Yeah.
And as long as we can get that rolling and respecting ourselves, then the whole nation. You don't see this in other countries, this sugar addiction. It's out there, but not to the extent that it's been done. America has been weakened with the sugar industry and because it makes you an addict.
Right.
For these
And I know
products.
I'm guilty of that myself.
Well,
I'm
but
trying.
It's curable, yeah.
I'm trying. I figure if I see Dr. Koontz and not, eventually I'd be brainwashed and I'll be able to just do it. And
We
okay.
try to give everyone a substitute, alternatives.
yeah, alternatives. So my theory is never quit quitting. So
Never quit quitting.
Yeah.
And the old remedy for pain in the arthritis was, the book by Dr. Jarvis was apple cider vinegar and honey. You get and also honey from your local community. Most people know that is healthier for you because of the pollen. The bees are getting it from the local plants, so you'll have a stronger immunity. And when you apple cider vinegar is phenomenal, but I believe a lot of teas are alkalizing us. If we can get alkaline, because our body is an acid-making machine. When you sweat, that's acid, acidic.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that. See, you never know what wealth of knowledge is going to pop out of Dr. Koontz's mouth and from his mind. And I'm always learning fascinating things from him. So that being said,
I just hang out with the best, brightest minds. My teachers all came from the old days. As a matter of fact, when I resurrect my library, I have a medicology book that my grandmother gave me when I was a sophomore junior. And my medical school started in chiropractic. And by the way, just to let people know how smart, all doctors, dentistry and podiatry and chiropractic and osteopath, everybody takes the same basic sciences as all medicine, medical doctors, basic sciences, that's why it's base, it's the base. And then that's the first 2.5 years. Your second 2.5 years is your specialty. But you specialize in that. The dentists go to teeth and so forth, but it's all a wonderful grounding of health nutrition. That's where I got my love for staying healthy and my experience with Dr. Jones, Martha Jones. God bless her.
yes, God bless her. All right, everyone, we're going to end it there. And I'd like to thank Dr. Koontz for spending time with our team. Did you have one more thing? I saw
Peace.
that.
That's
Peace. And so I thank him for,
Victory.
I thank him for coming, and I thank all of you who have tuned in tonight and all those that are going to tune in the future. Again, if you have any questions, get a hold of me, and I can pass this on to Dr. Koontz, and we'd be happy to answer any of those that you have. Hopefully you gained some information from tonight. I'd like to hear some feedback, what you guys thought, what we can do to make things a little bit better, or
We can start some YouTubes.
yeah, do our YouTubes and all that stuff, and maybe we'll just pre-record some stuff and not do the live thing and just go from you guys' questions and sit down and be a little bit more scripted and on task. But again, we just threw this together from Saturday morning when
Yeah, it doesn't need to be just on sugar.
Yeah,
It can be a whole lot of
yeah,
other
we can do anything.
subjects.
Different, yeah. Health-wise, if you have questions for Dr. Koontz, the healthier way to do things, whatever. We just started with sugar because I know it's something that he talks about a lot in his office, and I hear him tell a lot of people. So I knew it would be natural, and we wouldn't have to study it for tonight, or he wouldn't have to go back to his notes or create notes because it just comes second nature to him. So I just wanted to have kind of a night for our team where we just got together. He just spoke from the head and the heart, and just we saw what happened, whatever happened, happened. So that's kind of what we did. We threw this together. Here we are. And hopefully you guys got something from it. Let us know. Give us some feedback. And I love you all. See you soon. And
Power on.
yeah, power on, Dr. Koontz says. Have a great night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Turn this off.
That was fun.